Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. The response to this series, Preparing for Aging, is just overwhelming. We have about 210 people that have signed up for this, which shows like how important it is for people to take the time and hit the pause button and start to prepare and think ahead for what they might need as they age. We're very happy to have with us today Diane Vitillo, who has spoken for us many times and done webinars and presentations to talk about how you organize for your next of kin. So, Diane, you are the expert. I'm going to mute myself, let you take over. For everybody, we are recording it. We will send you the recording. And if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We do have time to do questions and answers at the end. I'll be screening them. So if it's something very like relevant to what Diane is saying right then I'll stop her and ask the question. But otherwise, keep putting them in. We will get to them all. And Diane, it's all you now.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us today. I hope our presentation goes well. We are expecting a possible tornado here in our area of New Jersey, so hopefully, yeah, they said bad storms this afternoon, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed. So thank you, Kathy, for inviting me to present this very important topic. I decided to develop this presentation during the pandemic since we were all sequestered and there was little to do in the confines of our home. I also had an underlying health condition which increased my risk of contracting COVID. So while I was still in relatively good health, I created this presentation. Advance the slide, please. Thank you. Next slide, Kath. Thank you. So I prepared this presentation based upon my desire to identify all the pertinent information about my personal and financial effects that my children will need to know about in order to honor my final wishes and ultimately settle my estate. The information shared in this presentation is for informational purposes only, so please seek legal advice when preparing information for your next of kin. Next slide. So I know this may not be an easy topic for some of us, but I think it's an important topic to go over. It could be uncomfortable, but when you feel that you're getting it organized, for me, it was very fulfilling and comforting because I know, so I have two adult sons, five grandchildren. And I've been an executor many, many times. One of the stories I will share with you a little later on in the conversation. But once I started to put all this information together, I felt more confident that my kids would be able to take care of the things they needed to when I was gone. Next slide, please. So you want to ensure that your loved ones have the clarification they need to honor your wishes and safely and confidently settle your estate. So in other words, if you have, let's say you have a DNR, do not resuscitate, or other healthcare wishes, it's important for your family or whoever is going to, that you're going to leave behind, that they know what you really wanted. They don't have to make those hard decisions themselves. Next slide, please. So we would suggest that any personal choices for your medical and end of life care wishes be made prior. You do this when you're in a good frame of mind. Hopefully you're not in any medical distress. So you and people that you love have the opportunity to maybe either sit together and discuss what you really want so they have a better understanding of what you truly want at end of life. And obviously, you certainly want to tell somebody who you would like to manage your estate. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is where my personal story comes in. You don't forget to tell the person that you're naming them as executor of the estate, because when you pass, It's surprise, I'm gone. It's all up to you. Who's going to handle all this stuff? Now, this happened to me and my husband. Actually, it was primarily my husband's family. My husband had a cousin, Phil. He lived in the same town as we did. Phil had a son and a daughter who were both attending out of state college. Phil became quite ill. He was hospitalized, and he had no other family that lived around him except us that could help him navigate through this pretty horrible medical journey. So he asked me, since I was not working at the time of his illness, he asked me to take care of his medical needs and be able to discuss any medical wishes with his doctors. You have to do that if you are trying to get information, medical information from a loved one. You have to be designated as a recipient of medical information that has to be in the physical chart, the patient's chart. So Bill's health continued to spiral downhill. He was airlifted to a hospital in Pennsylvania. He needed a double lung transplant. While he was still able to speak, he asked me to be sure that his children were taken care of and to please pay all the bills and other important information, take care of it. It was all on his dining room table in his house. So shortly after he passed, he never mentioned to my husband, who first cousin, what his wishes were, nor did he mention who would be taking care of his estate. My husband and I assumed it would be his children would take care of that responsibility. But since the children were away at college, we went to Phil's home and we tried to straighten up a few things before the kids came home to take on the estate. Sadly, Phil was a hoarder. His dining room table was piled high with mail and other paperwork that had not been opened since his hospitalization, which was about 2.5 months. The room itself had boxes and boxes of childhood memorabilia from his children. Now, his kids were in college, but he still had his kids' paperwork from when they were in third, fourth, and fifth grade, still had all the daughters' dolls, the little boys' train set, everything, all scattered throughout the home. So we came across a box in the corner of the dining room that appeared to have some legal papers in it. His wife's death certificate was there. She had passed over 10 years ago. His bill of sale, his car bill of sale was there. And his will was there. So we were so happy. My God, good, we found his will. Now we can find out who the executor is going to be, and we can just walk out of the house and have it all be taken care of. So my husband and I took a seat at the dining room table and we started to read the will. And we were shocked to read, I name my executor to be Nicholas Vitillo, my husband. Phil never told my husband that he was going to be executor. So, yeah, we did not see this coming. So that's why it's so important for you to tell, maybe name a few people, maybe come up with 3 different people and say to them, would you like to be my executor? But I've chosen 2 other people as well. So you give a group of people the opportunity to say, yes, I'd be happy to help you, or no, absolutely not. Do not leave me as executor because I can't handle the stress. Okay, next slide, please. So, yeah,
Sorry, Diane, is that the right slide now? I got a little
yeah, you
off the
can
book.
you can go one more.
Okay,
So now we have the responsibility of, wow, where do we start? There is so much. We have a house to get rid of. First, we have all the house to clean up, then to get rid of. We have to make his funeral arrangements. We have to do this, we have to do that. It's like, where do you start? Okay, next slide, please. By a show of hands, and I don't know how to do that on Zoom, but by a show of hands, how many of you have been executors? Few people coming up there. Okay. Not an easy job. I know it's it's kind of overbearing sometimes, especially, if you have a full-time job or if you have other family commitments and now you're thrown into the fray with having to taking care of all this, it's quite a daunting task. So the things that I would suggest are clean out and organize your files. Now, this is kind of like me on that left picture. I still do keep paper files. It was the way I was brought up. I was an executive secretary for almost 30 years, so I was just so used to filing things. So I continue to do that in my home, as did Phil, Nick's cousin. Down in his basement, he had probably at least 6 filing cabinets that we had to go through everything in that file cabinet to make sure that there was nothing important, that we needed to take a look at before we started to clean out and sell the house. So obviously, in the picture on the right, that's very similar to all the stuff that we found on his dining room table and on the floors in many of the rooms in the home. So we had to go through all of that. And I'm not saying that everybody is like that. Some people are more organized than others. But the point is, in your own personal home, take a look at the things in your home that, God forbid, if something happened to you, somebody could come in and just easily find the things they needed to do to settle your estate. Next slide, please. So to easily find the documents that you may need. Now, I know many of you may have already started to organize for your next of kin, and that's wonderful. And I'm sure all of us have different filing and organizing techniques that you use. I found one product online that I kind of based this presentation on somewhat, that helped that can help you organize all the things in your life to make it easier, not only for you to start that organizational tool, but for the people that you leave behind, how to find the things that they really need to look at after you're gone. Next slide, please. Okay, raise your hand. How many have a drawer that looks like this? Yay! I probably have 3 drawers that look like this. But the thing I want to point out here, yeah, exactly. I see all those hands. Yep, yep. The point is with this. So in my junk drawer that looks like this, I have several keys in there that I do have labeled. One is an extra house key. One is my neighbor's key. One of the papers that I have is the combination to a safe, but I have the combination to the safe in there, but I'm not telling anybody where the safe is, so that's not really going to do any good, is it? So the point is, yes, all right, so we all need to have a junk drawer. It's just a place where we kind of throw everything in, but try to label the important things in there. So keys, yeah, I got a key rack. I could tell you a gazillion things that I have where I hang little things that aren't going to mean anything to anybody else unless I have them labeled. So obviously you want to have your primary residence key labeled, your cars, your boats or campers, mailbox or a post office box. If you have a bike lock, if you have an office key, keys to a second home or a vacation home, a clubhouse fob. We live in a 55 and over community, so I have my little fob to get into the clubhouse. File cabinets, jewelry boxes, storage units, lockers, your neighbor's keys. We probably have keys for a gazillion things. So try to label them and make it easier for the next guy. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's this One more story, another true story. My husband's parents immigrated from Italy many, many years ago. They lived in a home. It was probably their homestead for at least 90 years. After Nick's parents passed, actually his dad passed, so Nick moved back into the home to take care of his mom. Nick was working and supporting his mother. He would give her part of his paycheck every week. When his mother passed, we decided to sell the home. And we started to, go through all the closets and everything, pack up stuff. We went into this little, it was like a storage closet, I guess you'd say, on the second floor. Opened the door. It was kind of dark in there. We never really stored anything in there but junk stuff. And when you stepped into this little closet, you could hear the floor squeaking a little bit. And we noticed one of the floorboards was loose, and we figured, we should probably get this fixed before we sell the home. So we got down on our hands and knees and we jiggled the floorboard, and it came up. And there was a box filled with money, $20,000. That my mother-in-law had been collecting all this money that my husband was giving her out of his paychecks for all those years. So if you're hiding money someplace, not only money, but jewelry or anything else that you want your next of kin to find, leave them a hint. Better than a hint. Just tell them where the hell, pardon my French, tell them where it is so they can find it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, passwords. I know we all have passwords. Passwords to everything on the computer, passwords on our phone, just passwords up the wazoo. It's kind of scary that we have to have so many passwords. And how do we save them? Where do we save them? And it's important to let somebody know where we are saving them in case they have to access anything, any of our accounts or whatever, after we're gone. Same with social media accounts. What's your login information? You want to really be careful with your social media accounts because you don't want anybody else taking over your accounts fraudulently. In other words, pretending that they're you. So you want to make sure that those are all taken care of, erased, or however they say it on the internet now to get rid of that stuff. So important to tell your next of kin how to bow out of all the social media accounts. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've had a financial advisor for many, many years. So the document that I put together for my two sons has my financial advisor's name, phone number, email address, and just about anything that has to do with financial stuff, our advisor knows about it. So I can easily just be confident that if my kids call the financial advisor, our advisor will be able to help the kids with any of the information that they need to be able to transfer any of that account information to them. Again, you want to make sure that you leave a login information to your account for your next of kin. Yes, I see that question that just came up. Yes, some accounts let you put someone's name and email address. And yes, I've done that as well. And thank you for bringing that up. That's great information. You also want to review the list of beneficiaries for your estate. That could change over time. Maybe, I don't know, let's just say maybe you had, I don't know, a good friend that you were going to leave some money to, but that person has passed now. And you don't, and now you want to assign that person's gift to someone else. You want to make sure you keep all that information up to date. Be sure to list all your investments, your assets, etc., and who you want to receive those funds. And we took care of that personally by putting all that information in our wills, in our estate planning. And I believe Kathy has another presentation coming up in this series, if I'm not mistaken, that talks about wills and trusts, I think. So, okay. Next slide, please. So this is the crucial information that your next of kin is going to need. Uh, your full name, including your middle name. Other names would be your maiden name. Maybe I've had two maiden names. So all of that information is on my crucial information sheet. Your date of birth, social security number, your phone numbers, both home and mobile, phone passwords or a PIN number that you may use, computer passwords just to open your computer up, email addresses and passwords for all of your accounts. Okay, all of this information is crucial if you need to be able to share that information with your next of kin or if they need to gain access to it. Next slide, please. Apple ID and passwords. Yeah, these passwords things, I know we all have many, many passwords. The way I keep my passwords, I probably shouldn't tell you this, so if you ever find my phone, you'll know how to open it. But I keep all my passwords as a contact on my phone because I always have my phone with me. And if I'm out of town, out of state, out of the country or whatever, and I need to access one of my accounts, I can easily just pull it up from my phone. And I usually, the way I type in my password, I do it, how can I say it, cryptically. Like I don't put the entire password, but I'll put a portion of the password and then I'll know what the rest of it is. So that helps me. I'm sure you have your own tips and tricks on what works for you as well. Tell your next of kin if you make automatic bill payments. I do that on the side of my computer here. I have a list of all the companies where I have auto bill set up for. This way, if I do pass, and my husband or my children are now having to pay all the bills, they'll be able to see, when they get the bill, the PSE&G bill in the mail or something, they'll see that it's auto paid rather than pay it again. So just little things like this I find to be very helpful and important. Again, information about your PayPal accounts, Zelle accounts, and any other online money accounts that you might have. Next slide, please.
Diane, there's a question about when people use like fingerprint facial ID to log in.
Yeah.
Know anything about comments on that? Can that be
Uh,
written?
the, you know, I have never been able to get my fingerprint to work. I've tried it several times on, different applications, so I never use it, nor have I used facial recognition. Maybe I'm old school, I don't know. I mean, if it works for you, I think it's okay. I'm just so leery now with all this AI and all this computer hacking. I hate to say that, but I don't know. Just be careful, I think, about what you're using for your own stuff. So, okay, documents that you really need to keep safe and in a safe place: your birth certificates, your passports or immigration records, your social security cards, a copy of your driver's license, vehicle titles and registrations, the deeds for your home, any ownership properties, and the originals of your healthcare directives, your will, your trust, and your estate documents. Next slide, please. And marriage certificate and divorce papers, obviously those are important. Intellectual property. I do have intellectual property and I have copyrights and trademarks and patents. So I've listed that in the documents that I'm leaving for my kids so they'll know They need to call this manufacturer because that's where I keep, the mold for my product, or they need to call the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office because in 2 years I have to pay the new fee on the trademark and patent. So things that we might never even think about telling anyone, it's important to list. And that's one thing I liked about the knockbox was they gave you these little nuances of information that might be useful in your particular life. Of course, other certificates and appraisals or any irreplaceable documents. Recently, I had a family member that passed, and it gave me some thought about if I go, who would I give my jewelry to? And the few pieces of jewelry that were decent. So I went to a jewelry appraiser. I had a few of the pieces appraised, and I kept that paperwork with that piece of jewelry, and then I put it in a safety deposit box. So this way, when I passed, the kids would know that, oh, this is a decent piece of jewelry. Let's just not put it out for the garage sale. So now they would know it could be worth a little something. So be careful with the things that you have that they're meaningful to you. So try to leave some type of a notice how they should be, and they're an important family heirloom. Next slide, please. Okay. So people and contact information, obviously the next of kin, who your executor is going to be. If you want to name a trustee who should be in charge of all the information you are preparing. If you have an attorney, again, we have that in our wills and also in our financial advisor's information. He knows who our attorney is in the case the attorney needs to be contacted. And we talked about the financial planner. Next slide, please. Yeah, so many people. If you have an accountant, because obviously you're going to have to file, we had to file Phil's last income tax return in the year that he passed. Real estate agent. Yeah, we had to find a real estate agent to sell his house. Other people that needed to be contacted immediately. We had to try to figure out who, even though my husband and he were first cousins, we still needed to find out who were the important people in Phil's life that we needed to contact to bring, to the funeral. And where was the preferred funeral home? Next slide, please. So with the funeral arrangements, I'm sure many of you have had to prepare funeral arrangements for your loved ones, and it it's kind of it's a daunting task because there's so much information that you have to fill out for the funeral home, and some of the information you may not know. Like it'll ask you where was the decedent born, what hospital, or how many siblings he had, or what type of work did he have, or all of these questions. And like when we were filling out the funeral arrangements for Phil, we didn't have all this information, and his two adult children, even though they were his children, they didn't know a lot of the information either. So on a day when you have absolutely nothing else to do, take a look at the funeral home that you would like to be that you would like to have take care of your final wishes, and fill out the form that they will give to the person who's making the arrangements. This way, it's all taken care of. It just reduces so much stress on the person that really does have to make all the funeral arrangements. So yeah, I've Googled the financial planning list, and I have started to fill one out for both me and my husband, and my kids will know where it is when they need to find it. Next slide, please. So yeah, pre-complete the funeral guide, the name and address, marital status. These are all the things that they're going to ask on the funeral guide. So if you obviously can fill it out a lot easier than someone who you're leaving behind. The person you're leaving behind may not have all of this information. And it's really quite important. This is your legacy. You want people to have a little history about your life after you're gone. Next slide, please. Okay, pertinent documents. Any account statements, like if you had to, we had to close out all of Phil's accounts. Beneficiary designations. Luckily, we found the will, so we knew who the beneficiaries were. His life insurance policies. That was a little tricky, but we managed to, luckily, Phil worked he worked for the state of New Jersey, as did my husband. So my husband was able to navigate the directory at the New Jersey, the State Department, to find out who they needed to contact for life insurance. The real estate deeds, car and boat deeds, stocks and bond certificates, the prenups and the postnups, any loans or leases. Phil did have a loan on his daughter's car that before he passed, he did ask us to take care of that for him, which we did. Copies of all the utilities, because you want to be able to have all that stuff shut off, or at least, if you're going to keep the residents, you have to change the name on the bills, so on and so forth. Okay. And obviously, you want to create a will and be current with your tax returns. Next slide, please. Consider writing your own eulogy. This is something I'm truly considering doing. When I go to a funeral and I sit in church and I listen to the priest, I'm Catholic, so I listen to the priest give the sermon about, Phil. We'll talk about Phil, right? And I always think to myself, how well did the priest, minister, rabbi, whatever, how well did they really know this person? What would the decedent really want the people listening to this sermon? What would the person really want them to hear and learn about and know about Phil? Okay. So I decided I'm writing my own eulogy. I'm the type of person that even in my real life, I don't share a lot of I'm not like a huggy, lovey person, like I don't say to my kids every day, oh, I love you. I really, I miss you. I blah, blah, blah. That's not me. Okay. But when I'm not here, I would feel very confident in saying how much I enjoyed being their mother, how much I enjoyed when they brought their friends over, and Tommy and Wayne and Eddie, how they all got together as a group and they'd stay overnight and we'd have these parties and that's what I want them to remember. I want everybody that's sitting in the pews in the church that have met me at one time during my life, I want to try to mention their name and say to them how much their friendship meant to me. Because I'm not going to do it while I'm alive, unfortunately, because that's just not who I am. But I can feel much more confident doing it now in the privacy of my own home, having it written down, and there's just giving it to my kids in a sealed envelope and say, give this to the priest when I'm not here. I know, crazy as that sounds, but that's me. Okay, next slide, please. So we talked about, I think, go on further, Kathy. And one more. There we go. Okay. So we talked about the resources. You can Google the Knockbox. It's a great product. It comes in a variety of packages that you can buy, the minimal package that you need, and then it goes to the maximum, a fireproof box and things like that. It's a great product if you need a little help in organizing all the things that you have in your life. Another important thing I wanted to bring up with this, and the reason I do is after Phil passed, it was actually well over a year after Phil passed, his son contacted us and said that he was told about this site, this Treasury Unclaimed Property site, where you can go on this site and you can type in the client's name, like we typed in, the son typed in Phil last name. And this site will tell you if there is any unclaimed property. Now, Phil happened to have, I think it was about $8,000 worth of unclaimed, I can't remember exactly what it was. It might have been interest from an account that he held for many, many years. But the point is, you could do that now. Type in your name, type in perhaps a family member who's passed, type in their name, see if there's any unclaimed property that you might be entitled to. Now, I also have to mention that in order to claim that property, so when the son called us and said, Dad has $8,000 here, the executor of the state, which was my husband, he had to still have the surrogate certificate naming him as executor in order to claim this money. But we were able to do that, and then we passed the money on to the two children. But I thought it was an interesting piece of information to share. Next slide, please. So today, do something today that your future self and your family will thank you for. And, I hope that this has inspired all of us to take care of this information, which will be so appreciated by the people you leave behind. They're going to be grieving. They're going to be certainly missing you. So make their life a little easier so they can enjoy all the good memories that they've had. And I think, Kathy, that might be the last slide. Let's see.
Oh, yes, that is.
Okay. So I do thank everyone for joining me today. I hope it was useful information. I think it's things that all of us will have to deal with at one point. So if you have any questions, feel free to stick them in the chat and I'll see what I can answer.